Happiness is not something you postpone for the future. It is something you design for the present. Jim Rohn. My guest and I today are somewhat kindred spirits. A mom of 2 little ones and a new business owner, we both believe that with a system and intentionality, you can design your life in a way that best suits you. You have the power to be the boss of your own life. I'm your host, Monica Allen. I'm a wife, mom, entrepreneur, best-selling author, lifelong learner, and your biz bestie. I have a love and passion for all things small business. Growing my own company from $700 to over 7 figures annually, my goal is to bring you inspiration, business-focused topics and tips, encouragement, and a community that helps you launch, grow, and scale your business, whether you are a dreamer, a side hustler, or a seasoned entrepreneur. You are listening to the Become Your Own Boss podcast. This episode is brought to you by Zeus's Closet, your go-to destination for custom embroidered and screen printed clothing. Whether you're a business, fraternity, sorority, or part of the movie and TV industry, Zeus's Closet has got you covered. Imagine a tattoo shop for your clothes, where your wildest branding dreams come to life. With lightning-fast rush options, you can get embroidered items the same or next day. Unleash your creativity and make a statement. Visit Zeus'sCloset.com today and experience the power of customization. We are here to meet all of your branding needs. On today's episode, I have the pleasure of chatting with the owner and founder of Think Happy Co. Think Happy Co. serves women who struggle with juggling all the things and want to create sustainable systems to help them simplify their lives and allow them time to fill their own cup first. Kaitlin Cuevas is a wife, mom of 2, and lover of French roast coffee. She believes happiness is something we each create for ourselves and that you are in the driver's seat of your own life. Do you see why we are kindred spirits? Check out my conversation with Kaitlin. Hi, Kaitlin. I'm so happy to have you on the Become Your Own Boss podcast today.
I have such a big smile on my face right now because I am honored to be here and I can't wait for this conversation.
Me either. So, Kaitlin, I know you're a business owner. You're a new mom to baby number 2.
Yes.
A lot going on. Can't wait to dive in and talk about all of it. But first off, just tell me about your business and what made you start it.
Yeah. My business is called Think Happy Co. Essentially, what I do is I coach very busy women and I help them first figure out time management, task management in their lives. I also help them build sustainable habits and sustainable routines that just serve them and their lives oh so well. That's what Think Happy is. It includes also a podcast, which is how we connected, called the Think Happy podcast. That's what I'm doing over here at Think Happy.
And how's it going? Because I know you're a little bit newer to business.
I am.
Business, I should say. We're going to talk about the fact that you've actually worked in a family business, but going.
Yeah. I am learning something new every single day, and I love it. Actually, before I left my family's business, I would always joke with my dad that my job title was a sponge, just like that. And that's what I loved about it so much, because I was getting to learn from him every single day. And something that is so fun about being an entrepreneur is I'm still learning every single day. And I hope that never changes, but it's going well. It's not all rainbows and butterflies like I think some people think owning your own business is, but it's a lot of work, but it's extremely fulfilling, which is actually, and we can go into this when we talk more about my family's business, that was one of the reasons why I took the leap to leave the family business and go into Think Happy full time, was just to feel more fulfilled in the work that I was doing, and to have the opportunity to create my own schedule so I could be the type of mom that I wanted to be also.
Right. I love that. And we do have to be intentional around planning our lives. So much of the time we can just kind of go with the
flow. But if you're intentional, you can set yourself up for success, even though, yes, entrepreneurship is not easy. But I know like one of the reasons I started a business is though I didn't have kids at the time, I knew I wanted to be able to be at all the things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when they did grow up and go to school and have all the plays and middle of the day things. And so I knew I wanted a good job for being intentional about it. What is something that you would say you learned recently? I know you said you're learning every single day. What's something you learned recently that you were like,
Yeah. One of the things that, and the question you asked is learned in the past tense. I'm going to change it and say learning, still in the process of learning how to be a little more graceful with myself. You know this because this is a perfect example. We had originally planned on having this conversation last week, but I woke up Monday morning. Not only did both of my kids have a stomach bug, but my husband did also. And so needless to say, that derailed not only my Monday, but the better part of the first half of the week. And I am very structured. That's just really how I operate, which helps in a lot of situations. It does not help in situations like that. I am learning and trying to be more intentional about being graceful with myself when things do not go according to plan, such as stomach bugs, and just reminding myself, Kaitlin, this is why you're doing this, so that when there are stomach bugs, like you can be there, you can nurture, because that's what they want when they're sick. That's what I want when I'm sick. I want someone to take care of me. I want my mom to take care of me, honestly. That is what I am learning, is be graceful with myself when things don't go according to my plan. It is fine. It is totally fine.
That's a great lesson for all of us to give ourselves some grace. We often will give others grace and then we're not so darn hard on ourselves.
I couldn't agree with that more, Monica. I feel like it's something that's so much easier for us to give to other people around us. And if you have a friend who's going through a situation, what are you going to tell her? Oh, be kind to yourself. You're in a tough season right now. This is going to pass. Like, you've got this. We need to flip that narrative so that we also are constantly reminding ourselves of those same things that we would tell our friends, that we would tell our loved ones.
Exactly. Why think happy?
Ooh, why think happy? I guess I should start by giving you a little bit of a background of just some of my work history, because all of it, I can so clearly look back and see how everything just led directly to Think Happy. My first job out of school, I did marketing for this small little chicken company called Chick-fil-A. I actually worked a little bit in Atlanta, which I wish I had known you then so that I could have given you a hug in person.
Yes.
But so I did marketing and corporate training for Chick-fil-A. Those years at Chick-fil-A, I got to see firsthand how being a business owner puts you in a position where you really get the opportunity to serve other people. And that's one of the things that I really, truly took away from my time at Chick-fil-A. Well, fast forward a couple years, I used to say the only person who can take me away from Chick-fil-A is my dad. Well, spoiler alert, my dad came knocking a couple of years into my job at Chick-fil-A, and he had a position open up at the family business, which is a marketing company. We do a lot of lead generation, appointment setting, sales, and I worked there for close to 10 years. What I started learning, in my time at Dunlap Marketing, which is the name of the family business, is just the behind the scenes of running a small business. And, I feel like I really got to roll my sleeves up and get to work and see the highs and the lows. And it was such a great learning time for me. During that time, I started my first side hustle. I started teaching fitness classes. Why? Because I loved it. I loved it so much. It's when I first realized that just because you have a 9-to-5 didn't mean that you couldn't also have a side gig. And it's when I also learned that just because you have a side gig, It could be, yes, to help support yourself financially, but I didn't need the extra financial support. What I needed was the extra internal side of doing something that I really loved. And that's when I realized I really love coaching. I really love helping people like step into this version of themselves, who they want to be, and just feel good on the inside. So those three experiences with Chick-fil-A, with Dunlap Marketing, and with coaching fitness all eventually led to Think Happy, which started as a book. It was published in March 2022, not 2022, 2020, March 2020, right when COVID started getting in hot and heavy in all of our lives. And Think Happy, the book, is it breaks down 5 pillars of happiness, to 5 pillars that you can do in your own life to help you live your happiest life. And then those pillars are now what have become the foundation of Think Happy Co. It was a very long answer, so I'm going to stop talking.
No, that was really good. I mean, I had no idea that it was so many layers. And I will tell you, I've had the opportunity to encounter so many Chick-fil-A people. I've gone to their headquarters. I was in the master's program here at Georgia State, and they always have Chick-fil-A people come in, especially in all of our marketing classes. They're the person that comes to speak. And I learned so much, and I so admire that company because of just their values, and whether you agree with it or not, your company has to have some values and stand on those values. And one of the things that we've taken away from Chick-fil-A from our business is, well, one, we do say my pleasure when someone,
love that.
But we also don't open on Sundays. Like those things that we have a retail store. I'm like, we're not opening on Sundays. I don't care. I'm not doing that. And I'm like, yeah, we're small, but if Chick-fil-A can do it, I can do it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I didn't even know that about your story, but that's amazing. And then your dad brings you over and he has all this talent, in his company. I just had no idea, but that's amazing. And I love the name Think Happy. That's one of the reasons I actually kind of connected with you. We connected through kind of this podcaster portal, or what is it called? The community.
Yeah.
I saw the name of your podcast and I was like, oh, that is so cool. Like got to get to know her better, because for me, I do want to be happy in my life. And I think most of us do. It's just sometimes it's a little tougher to get there when you're dealing with a lot.
Absolutely. Completely agree.
Tell me a little bit more. One of the things I think a lot about is, will my kids someday want to take over the business? Will my kids, they help around the office a little bit now, but will they want to someday work in this business? What was it like being a part of your family business?
It was the biggest blessing. Backtrack 10 years ago, plus or minus, when I first decided to take my dad up on the opportunity he presented me with, it was one of those things where deep down I was like, this is either going to be really good or really not good. And we both were, it was kind of like this unspoken agreement where if it was really not good, my family, we are so tightly knit that I think we both knew it is not worth like messing up anything with our family's dynamic. We'll just hug and say it was a really great try, but maybe we shouldn't work together. Thankfully, it was the complete opposite. He is also a natural coach. And so educating people is just something that he's so good at it and he loves it. Even outside of business, he's coached me to, running my first half marathon, running my first full marathon, running or competing in my first half Ironman. He's just such a natural coach that learning from him, it was something that I was already accustomed to, if that makes sense. And so now I was just getting the opportunity to learn a completely different area of his own expertise. I think that since we did have such a fantastic working relationship, it made the decision to leave even harder. harder. And so it was not fun sitting down and having that conversation with him. But, as his daughter, it kind of felt like it was getting to the point where you're like dating this really great guy, but like, you just know he's not your forever guy. And the longer you stay in the relationship, like, that you're holding him back also. Mm-hmm. It kind of started feeling like that, where like, I knew it wasn't my forever, and I was doing him a disservice by not being open with him. And we had been so incredibly open and transparent with each other in our working relationship that I knew it was something I needed to let him know as soon as I was like certain about it, because it did take a lot of prayer, journaling, conversations with my husband, just to make sure that this really was the route that I was going to take before I took him on this roller coaster ride. And now I even forgot what your question was, Monica.
Oh, no, it's fine. I mean, I love the fact that the relationship was so good that you could talk to him about leaving. What was the catalyst, though, for you deciding to leave the family business?
Yeah. Backtrack so my dad got COVID. He got a pretty scary case of it May of either 2020 or 2021. It doesn't matter when it was. He got a pretty scary case of COVID that had him out of the office for multiple weeks. That was the first time when I realized that what I loved so much about my job was working with him, not the work that we were doing. That was a big aha moment. And leading up to that, it was easy for me, I think, to push that down because I was getting to work with him. And I do have just a special spot in my heart for small business. So I think that my love for working with my dad, my love for small business was outweighing not really loving the actual work that we were doing. Well, I got my first taste when he was out with COVID of what it would look like moving forward because I was his retirement plan. I got a very good taste of what that would look like, what that would feel like without working with him every single day. And when he got back from having COVID, obviously I waited until he got better. I kind of let him in on some of those feelings, but we just kind of picked up where we left off, and we had that conversation, but nothing came of it. Well, a month or so later, he and my mom took a week-long vacation to visit my uncle in Colorado. Well, as soon as he left again, I then picked right back up where I left off with those feelings of, oh, okay, so this feeling isn't going away, Kaitlin, like this just, so that's what it was. It wasn't, I wish that there was, I don't wish. There's not really a cool story that goes along with it, just other than deep down knowing like I'm not passionate, I'm not fulfilled with this being the job that I have for the rest of forever.
Got it.
So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you were his succession plan.
Yes, which also goes to another tally in the column of making it a really difficult conversation to have.
Right. Yeah. I often think about that. And I actually had an episode recently. I like to talk about books. So I had an episode around the book Exit Rich, and thinking about what the plan is when you exit your business is really hard. What does that look like? Are you selling it? Are you passing it on? It's a lot of questions. And for me, 20 years in now, I still don't quite have the answer. My kids are 13 and 9, or soon to be those ages. And I don't want them to feel like they have to do it. But at the same time, I'd love for them to have the opportunity where they aren't necessarily out looking for a job because they know they have one. But at the same time, I don't want them to not like what they're doing. I want them to be as passionate about what they do as I am about what I do. Anyway, just round and around we go on that.
For sure. And Monica, I think that one day they're probably too young to appreciate that quality in you as their mom. But I bet you that one day, wherever they end up landing in their career, they're going to look back and be able to see how you having that, laying that foundation for them was part of their ultimate journey to wherever they do end up landing.
Right. True. I hope so. And I will say, I think one thing that I can gift them, even if it's not this business, I have learned a lot through my entrepreneurial journey.
Mm-hmm.
Won't be starting from zero.
Yeah.
I started from zero.
Right.
My husband did too. All of us, both of us coming from working class homes and doctors or whatever, not entrepreneurs. At least if they decide to go the entrepreneurial route, I'll have lots of information.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one great thing. Kaitlin, tell me more about when you're working with your clients, what are you gracing them with? Tell us a little bit more about your pillars or what you can share with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I have group clients that are part of a group coaching program that I offer. And then I also have one-on-one clients who, spoiler alert, is just one-on-one conversations that we have. Inside the group program, it's called the Becoming Your Best You group program. There's a course that goes along with it. That course really goes deep into a lot of Think Happy's pillars. Inside that course, we talk about time management, identifying time that maybe you're not using productively during your days, and then how to best reallocate that time so that it can serve you better. We're talking about time management strategies, speed bumps. We're talking about task prioritization, delegating, creating a habit that is sustainable for you in the long term, and then turning multiple habits into a routine that you really love. That's what a lot of the group program is about. Now, inside of the one-on-one coaching, we're talking about a lot of those same things, but it's just a much more individual approach. Yes, I am teaching all of the things that are inside of the group program, but we're also working on specifically implementing for your own life. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And I get it. I think what I have found with one-on-one is that you can really dive more into each person personally. So if you've been on a hard time or struggling, I don't know, working out every day at a specific time, you can dive more into that person's schedule specifically versus with a group.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What I like about the group is for people who are new at investing in themselves in this manner, the group program allows you to try out investing in yourself at a lower price, which for me, before I started investing in myself, that was the biggest speed bump that I had. And then it ended up, the first thing I joined was a group program, which really was a catalyst for me. Looking back on my own journey and working on my own self, that group program, I was like, I gotta offer something like that for people who, have the same speed bump that I did in investing in themselves. Yeah.
That's really good. And I do like the group. My stuff is more very, very, very business specific. For my group accountability group, it's very cost effective, but it allows you to have that weekly accountability for getting stuff done. So I get it. And I love the word you use, invest in yourself. That has always been difficult for me.
Yeah.
Always. But there's a whole episode where I talk about me and my relationship with money recently that I'm working to get over. But yeah, that has always been tough. But it's like you have to find that fine line because you do have to invest in yourself, but you also have to make sure you're doing the work.
Exactly.
Talk a little bit about that. How is it with working with people and making sure they do the work?
So a conversation that I find myself having pretty frequently with people before they decide to sign up and work with me, I am very clear that I use a lot of analogies on all of my platforms. And so an analogy that I use a lot is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink the water. Like I can teach you all of these tools, but ultimately I have to pass the baton to you to start implementing. And I do like to empower my clients a lot. If we talk about something and you start trying to implement it and it doesn't work, let's fix it. That's the point of all of this. We're trying to create habits for you, routines for you, systems that are sustainable. So don't try to put a square peg in a round hole. No, like, let's adjust. But I am definitely a firm believer that you're going to get what you put into things in life, right? You're going to get the life that you put into, that you nourish. You can't just sit back and wait for it to happen, because you'll be sitting back and waiting for a very, very long time.
Very, very true. You've been in business now for how many years?
In September, it'll be 2 years. I use the start of my podcast as the official start date of Think Happy. So about 1.5 years.
Okay, nice. What have you found to be, I like to ask this question because to me, someone who's been in business for 20 years has a big one, but someone who's been in business for 1.5 years has a big one that they've hit too. What has been your biggest challenge?
Gosh. I'm going to say me. I'm really going to say that I think that I am my biggest challenge. You know the song, the Blink-182 song, and it says, like, I'm my own worst enemy. I find that is really true for myself. My biggest challenge is just getting out of my own head. Maybe if I'm having a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks that I feel like aren't going how I would have liked them to go, specifically in business, just mom life out of the equation, specifically in business, being able to take a step back and instead of being disappointed in myself for things not going maybe how I wanted them to go over here, being able to look at things that actually did go well that I can still celebrate the wins with. I'm going to say I am my own biggest challenge right now, and just getting out of my head. And then in addition to that, I'm still figuring out how to marry starting and growing a business with starting and growing a family. That is something that that's a challenge for me, because a lot of times I just want to sit and work. Sometimes I just want to sit and play with my kids also. And so figuring out that marriage is another challenge.
Gotcha. And I will say this as someone who has walked in your shoes, I'm just a bit ahead of you in that process. I think your oldest is what, 2, 3?
2.5. Yep.
Yeah. I actually had my business before I even had kids. So I kind of had the groove with that. So I may not be able to completely share with you here, but I will say it gets easier as they get older.
Thank you.
It's harder because they need you more. It's just the real life of it. I mean, my kids went to preschool. I know some people don't do that. And my first one, I definitely pushed off preschool for a long time. Or I say a long time. It was like 6 months, because I was like, I have her with me. And I had a baby when I dropped her off. And then I pulled her back out because she was getting sick all the time. And so we ended up doing a nanny. That went great for a few months, and then nanny camps. That's all I got to say. Nanny camps. Yeah. But by that time, she was about 1.5 years, and she really needed other kids. Both of my kids were very social. And so she needed other kids. We put her back in preschool, and it was just a joy to see how happy she was when she went. So freed up time, but it was still a need because they're so small. But truthfully now, my kids and I, we work at the same time. Like, I work while they're at school, but when they come home, they have homework and at the table, and we're just all present with each other.
That's amazing.
Laptops, because, now they don't have books. They just have laptops. So they look like little working people, little corporate people themselves, in a way, And yes, I do think it gets easier as they get older. And I do think that goes back to giving yourself grace, even though I understand you, because in your mind, and especially you have a marketing mind too. So you're thinking all these things. You're like, this, I can do this, and I got to stop this, I got to do this, and this will blow up my business. And I know, I understand it. Oh my gosh, I understand. I still do that, by the way. I'm like laying in bed, like, I do this. But as they get older, it will get easier. So in the meantime, try to enjoy them as much as you can now, because it goes so fast. I will have 10-year-old a week from today.
Oh my gosh.
To me, because I feel like we just brought her home. And but I just want to give you, I don't know, some encouragement.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So much.
It will get better. And then you'll be able to focus even more on your business. And what I love too about business is regardless, you're building a foundation. And though it may not be where you want it to be today, you still are building that foundation and you're putting up those bricks.
Mm-hmm.
10 years from now, it's going to look very different.
Exactly.
If you waited to start 10 years from now, you know what I mean?
Yep. We'll go back to, this one isn't really an analogy, but what you're saying makes me think of the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now.
Right now. Exactly. Yeah. I love that quote too. I love it.
It's such a good one.
It's such a good one. And it's so true.
Yeah.
You're working on it. Even if you put what I'm finding, even recently, because COVID really knocked us off our game. I mean, I feel like I'm just now coming back to life in my business because I was so focused on making sure the kids were all right, their work was getting done. I mean, and we still had to run our business because I have to pay people and all the things. But I feel like I'm finally getting back in a groove and a schedule and time management and all the things. But yeah, so it's just a matter of like continuing to move forward.
Yeah.
Continuing to move forward. And you're doing that. Even if it's 15 minutes a day that you have to do something, that's 15 minutes that you put in and you keep moving and you play with the kiddos and make them laugh and videotape all the giggles.
Yes.
When you're 13 and embarrass them, my God loves that.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
I know. Every time I say, oh my gosh, my baby's about to turn 13, she's like, Mom.
Come on, Mom.
Please. Fine. Anyway.
You're like, it's not fine.
It's not fine. It makes me want to cry. But it's bittersweet, though, because it's really nice to see them growing into themselves. Like, she's so mature. Well, especially with others. With me, not so much. But she's very mature, and it's just neat to see her grow.
Yeah.
But it's bittersweet because I miss the little cubs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, I know being a mompreneur, I personally think, I kind of think we're like superwomen because honestly, I mean, we're running our businesses and truthfully, though dads are great. Dads, y'all are great. There's just certain things that still fall on mom.
Yeah.
What are you doing with your young babies? I mean, you have young ones.
Yeah.
How does your schedule look from day to day? Like, what are you trying to make your schedule?
Yeah. In my perfect ideal world, I would work from 8 or 8:30 until 2:00 every day. Right now, or not every day, Monday through Thursday, maybe a couple hours on Friday. It doesn't look like that right now because we have a nanny with my son who's 6 months at the time of this recording. And I feel she has been the biggest blessing to our family. And we pay her to be with us from 7:30 until 4. So I actually have her for more time than I would want to just be working. But we love her and we didn't want to lose her. So we offered her more time to keep her around. But the way it looks right now, most of the time, I'll get up before the rest of the family. I still teach exercise classes, but now I teach them under the umbrella of Think Happy. They're called Move Happy, and they're on my driveway. So I'll teach a class in the morning. If I'm not teaching, I still try to get up, make the coffee, have a little bit of time. I'm a big time journaler, spend some time with my devotional. I love starting my day like that. Then I'll get up James, my son, around 7 or 7:15. I get up Eleanor around 7:30, take her to school, come back and start trying to crank out some work. But, we're in the process of kind of shifting some of our regular family routines, right? So historically, I have been a stickler for, we go to the grocery store on Sundays and our house is like ready for the whole week on Sunday afternoon, grocery wise. Well, we started to realize that that was actually taking away of a lot of just Sunday family time, especially because my husband travels a lot for work. And, just the small task of having to go to the grocery store was taking away a lot of family time. I used to have this is kind of like a financial speed bump, like we've been talking about before. I used to think like, if I have childcare, that time has to be spent working. Like, I'm not going to use my childcare time to go to the grocery store to do errands like that. I'm working on shifting the mindset there. So I will take some childcare time to run errands, because now I can see how it gives me back more time on the weekends to be present with my whole family. And yeah, I'd pick up Eleanor at 2:00 and hang out with her in the afternoons.
Yeah, I love what you talk about with the mindset shift, because it is a shift.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. We did the same thing. We would go grocery shopping on Sunday.
Yeah.
And when we looked at the amount of time that took on Sunday, because everybody goes grocery shopping, we were like, this isn't working. Like, we could be doing something more valuable. I mean, either literally valuable, meaning work related, or just spending time with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Instacart everything. But that's partially because I personally don't like going grocery shopping. And I know for some people it's like cathartic. Like, they love it. Some people don't care. They don't want other people picking out their produce. I've had to shift that mindset, because I've had to. And I'm like, you win some, you lose some.
Exactly.
Like, but the hours saved. I think when I looked at my Instacart, because it tells you how many hours you've saved, I've saved like over 600 hours of time, because we were using Instacart before.
Wow. Yeah.
I think about 600 hours of time.
Yep.
That's a lot that I can either be with my kids, be working on my business, or whatever. But yeah, so we do, as mompreneurs, have to decide what's important to us and what things we will sacrifice or compromise on, and the things that we won't. And like, one of the things, and I've said this before on like episodes long time ago, but one of the things that I did not want to compromise on was picking up my kids from school.
Yep.
That was one that I wasn't willing to let someone else do. Though sometimes my mom will go get the kids from school.
Yeah.
But I want to get them, or I want my husband to get them, because I can see if something didn't go well in a day.
Mm-hmm.
Their body language. I want to know. And I don't want to rely on someone else to know my kid that way.
Mm-hmm.
One of those things where I'm willing to hire someone, or I'm willing to do something else in my business so I can be freed up to go pick them up from school at 3:00 every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love how you're thinking through those things, because it is important. And as you have the babies, it just changes how you have to think about it.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. It adds just this whole other layer of, when I say complexity, I don't mean it like as in a negative way though, but it just adds another layer of complexity that's constantly changing. It's like a jigsaw puzzle that there's just like no right answer to solve, and you have to be okay with that.
Yeah, but it's also, it goes back to your whole company though. It's what ultimately makes you happy.
Yeah.
Being happy. Anyway, I love that. And I know you and I can talk a long time, because
we could.
Common.
I need to come visit you in Atlanta, and we need to get a glass of wine, and I just want to sit and chat for forever.
Yeah, we can do it.
Yes.
Call and say, where are you?
Where are you?
She will text me and be like, when will you be home?
Yeah.
And I'll say an hour, and she's like, okay, an hour and a half.
Okay, got it, Mom.
But Kaitlin, this has been so great. I would love to make sure that I link to your book in the show notes, as well as to your website and your programs, because I think it's really important. But tell people also, how can they reach you? What's the best place to connect?
Yeah, the best place to connect with me, honestly, is just on Instagram. My handle there is thinkhappy_co. You can find me pretty much anywhere. Think Happy. I either am not very creative or am exceptionally good at branding. I like to choose the latter.
Yes, you're exceptionally good at branding. Marketing background here.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. I mean, we can have a whole nother episode just on marketing and the importance of branding and all that stuff.
Yeah, I totally can nerd out on that stuff.
So do I, actually. See?
Yeah.
Lots in common.
I know.
So much for taking the time today. I really do appreciate you.
Thank you, Monica. And thank you to your listeners for giving me some of your ear space today.
Thanks for tuning in today. I am grateful for you. Take a minute to hit the subscribe button so you can always get a notification when a new episode is out. Also, leave us a review for the podcast. It helps the podcast grow. Don't miss the 2-Minute Tuesday Takeaway episodes. Even though I must admit I've missed a couple of these this month because, as I mentioned before, the month of May is kind of the month of mayhem. It is so busy with the end of school year and having school-age kids. We also have 2 family birthdays in May, so it gets a little crazy. However, as Kaitlin mentioned, I am showing myself some grace, and I will return to the 2-Minute Tuesday Takeaways or 2-Minute Takeaway Tuesdays next week. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss those. Couple of other things. Join the Become Your Own Boss community by visiting monicaallen.com. We kicked off our first newsletter this month. The Level Up Living newsletter is here, and the only way to get access is to join the community. And don't forget to visit zeus'scloset.com, our episode sponsor for all of your company swag. Remember, now is the time. Now is the time to level up, leave a legacy, and become your own boss.